This is my second attempt to record this, because the first one I spoke too fast and ended up being 2 minutes long. Persepolis would not work as a live-action film. I firmly believe that any attempt to even try to do so would result in failure. The switch between color and grayscale, the seamless montage of life, and the portrayal of what our protagonist is mentally going through and feeling could not be portrayed nearly as effectively as they are in animation. I could talk at length at any one of those topics in broad, but instead I'd like to zero in on that last one. Specifically, we'll be taking a look at the scene in which Mary Jane overdoses and how the surrealism and depersonification that happens in this scene highlights the emotions behind it in a way a live action never could. We start with Mary Jane talking about the aftermath of war on a childhood friend of hers and slowly transition to her laying on a therapist's chair. From there, she gets her diagnosis, and the scene we're focusing on starts. As we start getting images in a montage of depression, we lose Mary Jane in the solid black background. This is opposed to previously, in which the background gradiented to outline her. Against the white chairs she slowly gets, she seems almost like a silhouette. From there, the darkness consumes her. She's now just a floating head in a space of emptiness, which reflects how she's feeling in this period of time and how depression in the real world also feels. The loss of even the white filling in Mary Jane and the surrounding scenery hits, and it hits hard. This is the only instance in this movie in which things are outlined with a shaky gradient of a line. At first, we see it just with her bedside table, and then, after the rain of pills, we watch as Mary Jane meets the same fate. When white does return to her, it's slowly as she's on her way to God. The scenery gains white at the same time. In opposition to Mary Jane, at her lowest point, the deity is drawn exclusively in white. This creates a stark contrast between themselves and Mary Jane that's illustrated throughout their interaction. After the scene, Mary Jane wakes up, and a montage of getting better starts. The scene's use of montage in its beginning is haunting as the audience let in on the information that this has not only gotten bad, as portrayed by the expression and lack of movement, but the amount of time passing as well. Nothing changes between the shots, but the sheer number of them gives an impactful feeling of the loss of life going on. Now, you might say that live action can achieve such a thing, and while you might be right in some cases, you're wrong in this one. There's a degree of separation when it comes to animation that plays at the strength of the scene. When seeing an actor on screen, there's an intrinsic knowledge that that's a person, whereas with animation, there's a deniability and a distance put there. It's a representation of a person, sure, but it's not one. In live action, the director has to work within the confines of reality. The animator has the freedom to change things depending on the style and mood. You can CG an actor all you'd like, but at the end of the day, they still have to look grounded in reality, so such a shift isn't too jarring for the audience. The switch to just line art as she seemingly disappears from consciousness is another stylistic choice that couldn't have been done in live action. The loss of the limited color palette is an impactful one, and during the scene, it feels like something you can't come back from. Even if it only lasts a couple seconds, the choice to remove it unsettles. A live action movie would have to rely on lighting tricks or possibly graying out the screen to get the same effect out of a bedside table. There can't be the same breaking of expectations and conventions that's seen in this scene in live action because there's nothing more to take away to unsettle. I'd say I love to see them try, but let's be honest, I wouldn't. Live action remakes suck, and honestly, they shouldn't do them. Why recreate something that's already been done masterfully? In my opinion, Persepolis works so well as an animated film because it was originally a graphic novel. The author's intentions are already laid out in a graphical form, and therefore it makes no sense to deviate from that and attempt to make this into anything other than an animated movie. The story is already being told in an abstract form, and therefore it makes no sense to change it. And that is why Persepolis couldn't have been made any other way.